All right, here we go.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, come on in. Look at all these happy faces, even though they're only pictures. We're looking forward to see your equally happy face once you share your video with us. So for an introduction, if you look in our chat box, we just wanted to first, obviously, welcome you to our business meeting, but if you can let us know your name, your affiliation, if you have a current role with the organization, or maybe how long you've been with our organization, and one word that describes how you're feeling right now. So if you can share that in the chat box, that would be great. If you are watching us live on Facebook, feel free to put in the comments those things as well, so we can start to connect and build community. So name, affiliation, your role with the organization, and one word that describes how you're feeling.
And if anybody would like to share out loud, we could take a few of those as well. Welcome, everyone.
Emmy's feeling heavy. Thank you for being open and honest with that. Enrique is feeling inspired. Kathy's feeling accomplished. Doctora Kathy is feeling accomplished. Amen for that. Kenzo is feeling thankful. I'm good. I will take good. Donna is sad because she just found out about the conference, but happy because now you are here. Better late than never. We are happy you're here. There is one more session after this, so you have not missed it all. I'm Angel, by the way. I guess since I'm running my mouth, I should tell y'all I am Angel. I am chair of the membership committee for this wonderful organization. And my word is grateful. I love this place and this space, so everything about it just gives me all the feels. So I am grateful. Nicole is feeling hopeful. Yes, which is very hard in our current day and time. So amen for being hopeful. Is anyone else feeling inclined to share out loud?
I'm going to go ahead and share. I'm Erica Davila. Sorry, I was putting our agenda in the chat here. I'm the current president of CRSEA, and I am also hopeful, especially being in this space. And even before we were kind of virtual, because we're across actually a global association, I always felt like it was kind of this floating space. Like when you think where is CRSEA, it's like everywhere. And so I'm just excited to share this space with all of you today. Continue to put in, I know people are just joining us. We have, if you could, I think we might need to repaste it, right? When somebody comes in. Yeah, I think that the chat is not available to them, or the previous posts are not available to them.
No worries.
So we're just going to repost our little introductory here. We're encouraging people to use the chat. One is because I know people will be trickling in, and the other one is so that we could move on with our items today. We have a lot, but we also did not want to have more than an hour for business, because I know that everybody has so much going on these days. So we're going to get started here, unless anybody else want to share out loud. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and jump in. Enrique's gonna help me with this. He's our current VP, so I'm gonna let him introduce himself first.
Hey everyone.
Go ahead and get us started.
Yeah, let's get started. We have lots to talk about. Great to see everybody on a Saturday. I'd like to just real quickly go over the the conference that we had to, unfortunately, because of everything that's going on, had to postpone. We were lucky to have 219 proposals. And I know folks were waiting to hear, for acceptances. We had to keep pushing that back until we got a more definitive kind of plan moving forward. But we did get 219, and acceptances were sent out fairly recently. The numbers on that, let me get them for you real quick. We had about a 79% acceptance rate. We were able to fit a good number of them. 143 were accepted as papers and 32 were accepted as roundtables. And again, 219 was the total that we were able to kind of review, and everybody got at least 2 to 3 reviews. And so everybody that's on here, thank you very much for taking the time and working with us to get those reviews in. The goal was always to try to get as many of them accepted, just because this is a space that we want to encourage grad students. We want to encourage early career scholars to come to it. And so I want to thank Injung and others and all of you that reviewed to get that done. And so we sent out that notification with the idea that everybody could put that on their CV as an accepted paper, an accepted proposal that was for an international and national conference, with the idea that we are now moving into the 2021 cycle. So where we're gonna repost a brand new call for proposals, closing the books on that conference, with the idea that we'll be having another call out and folks can go ahead and reapply for that. And so that's the update on the conference proposals. I don't know if there's any questions, or if Erica, you want to add anything to that.
Thank you for that, Enrique. I'll give a second, see if anybody had questions, and also feel free to use the chat if that's easier for you, but we also welcome your voices too, okay? So
I think,
go ahead.
No, just last thing. The main thing was we wanted to we love the theme, obviously, and of the conference, but because everything that's going on that we're living through, the uprisings and the pandemic and what the impact it's having on our communities, that while we wanted to have a conversation about testimonios and the power of testimonios with that call, we felt as a group that it's really important that we try to do these webinars that have been happening and try to center some of those experiences and those stories, but really come out with a brand new call. So that's the reason we decided to set these acceptances out, let folks put them on the CVs, and basically close the books on that call, and then reformulate another call and another theme that we'll be able to put out there this fall, so that folks can apply for a brand new theme. So just wanted to say that.
And I just wanted to say a couple things about the conference that was never had. We know that other organizations and associations that we're all parts of, struggled with these very tough decisions. We definitely contemplated what it would mean to put on a 2020 conference, either virtually or hybrid format. And we weighed out so many details. We reached out to our founders. We reached out to 3 past presidents. We really took it very serious, trying to decide what to do, right? We know all the labor, every abstract, right? Everybody who reviews the abstract, and then all the people, a lot of you on the screen right now, who do the tedious work, right? That happens in between all of that, and assigning reviewers and looking at the scores and trying to decide who's in the program and who's not in the program. And so we didn't want, it was a very hard decision, right? To say, okay, this is going to be shelved. Even though there were so many associations doing it and we were dealing with unprecedented, circumstances, we still took it very serious. And one of the things we are planning to do, if we are able to have the conference in 2021 at the University of Delaware, which is the plan right now, is to think about some of the plenaries that might still happen that were originally scheduled for the 2020 conference, and just thinking outside the box in ways that we could honor that in that 2021 space. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when I talk about the freezing of the board in just a few minutes here. But I just want to make sure, as far as the 2020 conference, if there was anything else. Oh, I just remembered one more thing. So I'm wearing one of our old t-shirts. We are considering doing a kind of commemorative t-shirt for 2020. So we're really excited about that. We're looking at numbers and the budget. I actually reached out to the artist who worked with us last year. And so that's kind of something that's evolving right now, and we will definitely keep everybody posted on that, and hopefully be having t-shirts for our, at least for our leadership. And the idea was to also share with all the wonderful presenters that have graced us with their presence in the last couple weekends, which we'll talk about too a little later today. Anything else for 2020 conference? Any questions, anything before we move on? Okay, so another really important item is our e-board. So for those of you who don't know, the Critical Race Studies in Education Association e-board revolves around the conference. Actually, most of our organization or association revolves around our annual conference, even though we are continually thinking of ways to kind of be in touch, right, throughout, but between conferences. But right now, that's the reality, right, is we're kind of anchored with the conference. So this is the first time. It would have been, I always mess this up, either 14 or 15 years of a conference. So it was kind of a hard thing, again, like I mentioned earlier, but also thinking about what that meant for our structure and our procedures. And so I'm actually going to give the mic back to Enrique, so he could talk a little bit about this idea of freezing the board more conceptually, and then I'll talk about some of the logistics and the people.
So yeah, thanks, Erica. We had several options. If we had run it in a normal year, we would have been able to announce our new members of the e-board during the conference this past May. So because we didn't have a conference, and as you all recall, we were all living through it like around spring break. All this was happening at spring break. It was happening really, really fast. And so we didn't have the chance to run elections the way we had typically done and to replace the new board because we didn't have a conference. So we went back and forth about one way to mainly stabilize our organization, not lose money, maintain the stability and the work that had already gone into building the organization, the momentum of the organization. And again, Erica did a really good job of reaching out to founders, reaching out to past presidents, trying to get as much information, and alternatives that we could consider as we move forward. We decided at the end of the day to do what we called freezing the board. So basically the board that should have been replaced, we're not changing that structure going into another conference so that we can maintain the stability, so that we don't, we already had some relations built in with the University of Delaware, and a lot of the work we had visited there. We knew how the structure was going to work, the players that were involved at the university. And so by maintaining that board for one more year, we're basically picking up that board and running it again for hopefully May 21. At the same time, we did have a couple of unopposed elections. So we're going to have two co-VPs, Timberly Baker and Nate Williams. Thankfully, have decided to be part of it. They've already been very active. And then we also have our documentarian, In-Jung Yoon, who will be taking over that spot. And then we'll have a grad student. Is it one or two?
We will have an election for one incoming
for one grad student
representative. Mm-hmm.
So the two co-VPs, the documentarian, and the one grad student rep will start officially as board members in May of 21. But we're going to encourage them to be part of this conference cycle so that they can start getting their, getting part of the process and being part of our leadership team. Again, with the idea of maintaining that stability and then getting everything on track, hopefully for May of 21. And so that's kind of what went into freezing it, freezing the location, freezing, the board, so that we can kind of move forward from that.
And just to chime in on that, similar to the process we took to decide what to do after we had to cancel the conference this year, we went through the same channels for freezing of the board. So we reached out to founders, we reached out to past presidents, and we just tried to figure it out. For both of those items, there was no it was not like, oh, everybody was on board with the same ideas, I'll be honest. So it was a really good, kind of real intellectual, but very respectful conversations around the benefits and the limitations to the ideas that we had. So I'm really excited that we were able to come up, with these ideas to, again, it's all about sustaining the org. And I just also wanted to take a minute, I know it's kind of cheesy, And I don't think they're on the call, but this is recorded. So I do want to take a minute if people unmute and give a shout out and just give an applause to our incoming VPs, Timberly and Nate, and our incoming documentarian in Jung Yoon, who will all start in May of 21, but will be welcomed again to come on board and help us out with our this year's planning. So thank you guys so much. It is a big deal. On that note, I did want to say a little more about the grad student election. So we did receive multiple nominees for that position. And we decided we're going to open the election soon. We're looking at a September 1st. So we'll be sending out an email with those details and the voting window of when it'll close. And just like these other folks, we'll invite them, the person who is elected, if they want to come on early this year with this kind of fall 2020, we're thinking of, which we'll talk about in just a minute here, ways to be in touch with our association in this really difficult time. Given so many of the things that are happening, especially around race. So we really are thinking about ways that we could be in community. So for my e-board members, anything else with the board, anything that you want to add that I might have missed? No? Okay. So believe it or not, I think this is like not common for me. We are right on time. So let's see here. I think I'm giving the mic to, oh no, we're actually a little early. This is wonderful, but I'm going to give the mic to Kenzo.
So my name is Kenzo Sung. Nice to see everybody, meet everybody. I'm the CRSEA documentarian secretary on the e-board too. And so first off, just thank you again to everybody for being here and supporting the organization. Just a bit of things. So just to mention, I know that it's a challenging time right now. CRSEA, as Enrique and Erica have mentioned, is doing financially, as an organization, we're just trying our best to be able to maintain and stay, the stability of the organization financially, organizationally, and it feels like we're doing relatively well. I know that our treasurer Nicole is also on. So if there's any questions, we could also, definitely feel free to ask. And I know that she has all the details too, so she's here too. But just to mention that we are, thanks to University of Delaware, who was willing to postpone our conference until 2021 without any penalty, that we're really appreciative to them for doing that, and that we're able to kind of hold on as we continue to maintain. That said, we are a small grassroots, all volunteer run organization that mainly gets funded each year through our membership as well as our conference and conference fees. And that's kind of the main way that we just kind of keep moving. And so therefore and just also to mention that, like we really do appreciate it, since the conference didn't happen, we really do appreciate the work of our grad students, Kathy and Oscar, as well as their team for putting together this fully open access summer webinar series. This has been really amazing. And, this was a lot of hard work behind the scenes. And, so thank you to you all for being able to do something, in lieu of our, what we were hoping for the conference, the face-to-face conference this spring. So we really do appreciate that. And we did make it open access so everybody could see it. But that said, and I know many of us are struggling in many different ways through everything right now, but we would also really appreciate any support as an organization, because we are still, like paying for the, like the membership, the website, the all the different vendor, all the things that we have to kind of maintain, we're still maintaining. So if there is any way that people, any small donations, we really would appreciate it. You can do both as just a donation through the CRSEA website. On our webpage, there's a big red button that says donate. So we really appreciate that. And if people want a receipt for that for tax purposes or whatever else, to be able to get a hold of, I believe, Nicole, but I could, so one of us, but just to get a hold of one of us to be able to do that. But in addition to that, one of the other things that we have just recently set up is a membership, prorated membership, so that way you can put it on as one of your affiliations, but it's just a prorated membership for the last 3 months, so September through December, so for 2020, and then we'll obviously have a new one for 2021. But and we just made it, we made it, it's $10 for, it's $20 for faculty and $10 for grad students, community members, other folks. So it's a relatively, hopefully small sum of money. I know that, but money is tight for many people. So, but that said, if we're hoping to be able to do other things as we move forward. But that said, that's another way to just, if you feel, we would appreciate any type of support, and you could do that through the CRSEA website again, and you could kind of sign up for membership. If you would like to renew your membership, I know most people renew their membership as they kind of sign up for the conference. So if people have their membership has lapsed, again, any assistance with that, including renewing your membership for 2020, would really, help us out a lot, because we're a small organization. So that would be a big benefit. We are the membership committee chair, and the membership committee is going to talk more about, what their goals are moving forward, both, in terms of hopes for the rest of 2020 potentially. But I know that, again, there's a lot happening as the fall semester reopens. So we're, but also for 2021, I think in particular, kind of focusing on 2021 and kind of how we're going to continue to kind of make membership benefit for CRSEA members and for the organization as a whole. So I think that we're going to move over to talk a little bit more about that. But just to mention one more time, if people are willing to donate, as well as kind of, even sign up for membership, we would really, really appreciate that. And if people have questions, obviously ask us during the Q&A at the end too. So, but that said, I would love to pass it on to Angel and Larissa. So, yep. So here you go.
Thank you, Kenzo. So I always tell people that when I found CRT, I found my voice, but when I found this organization, I found home. And I feel like membership is how we take care of home. So we definitely want to make sure that we are providing two main benefits, at least for the duration of this year. As Kenzo said, we had this awesome 2 weekends of open access webinars, and we're super grateful to have been able to provide that, but open access doesn't pay the bills. So moving forward for the next couple of months, we also want to continue with webinars like this that will be the benefit of membership. And then the second benefit, which Larissa Malone will talk about in a little bit, actually came out of our business meeting last year when a student stood up and was talking about really wanting to have mentorship. So we got together as an organization and talked about what that would look like. So being able to participate in that initiative will also be a benefit of membership. And I'm gonna pass it to Larissa right now so she can talk to you about what that looks like.
Hi, everyone. Like Angel said, Dr. Jones said, we started the mentorship initiative after the last meeting. A graduate student stood up and she talked about mentorship, and it's something that since I've been involved in the organization, that kind of has been floated around several times. So she's actually on the committee along with another doctoral student as well. I'm sorry, a doctoral candidate, and myself. And we have been working for the last year since the last meeting, in meeting and really formulating a plan to connect senior scholars with younger scholars. We sent out a couple of Google Forms for mentors to sign up and for mentees to sign up. We had a great response for mentees. And I think it only actually was pushed out one time, and we received about 40 responses. We have about 10 mentors signed up. We initially wanted to have the kickoff at the conference, but since that didn't work out, as most of everything in 2020 has not. So we have decided to go ahead and get started in the fall. So we're going to have to revisit those that have filled out the form and begin to match up, but we hope to have meetings throughout the 2020-21 school year and the academic year leading up to the next conference, just to really pair up those that are doing the work, but really want to be paired with someone who is a senior scholar. I know when I started in CRSEA, or even actually on my doctoral journey, I was so very interested in critical race theory, but I was at a university that had no one else doing the work. So I had to figure it out myself. And then I found CRSEA, and it's been a lifesaver. But I know there's many people that are in that position. So we want to really help bridge the gap. We've named the organization UJMA, which is Collective Work and Responsibility. So I can put the email in the chat for anyone who's interested, and we can push out more Google Forms if people are interested in either mentoring or being a mentee as well. So are there any questions?
Actually, if you could mention just a little bit more about what is the eligibility, what the kind of hope are for the mentees in terms of, and as well as mentors, maybe a little bit more, that may be helpful too.
Yeah, so one of the important things is that you're a member of CRSEA. And we haven't strictly defined what a mentor is. Like there's no particular criteria, like you have to reach tenure. We let people self-identify. But I will tell you that of the 40 people that responded as mentees, about 60% are graduate students. And another like 20% are identify as pre-tenure. And then there's also a section for like a community organizer. And so that makes up a little bit of difference. And again, we didn't put criteria in for being a mentor, but it so happens that most of the mentors that have signed up are all tenure. So yeah, we've kind of let it be a self-identification process. And that kind of has worked out pretty well, so.
Thank you, Larissa. I just want to say a couple words, and then if you or Angel had anything else, or we could open it up for questions. You know, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the planning that we had already started doing for what would have been the May 2020 conference. Larissa had just such a beautiful idea, and hopefully it'll happen in 2021 or whenever, around a breakfast or a lunch where, you know, folks could meet their mentees and mentors and be in community and break bread. And so this is something that we hope will be a really like significant part of the association. There's been other mentorship initiatives throughout the years of the association, and a lot of it is informal, I'm sure, as you all know. And I know I have my mentors and mentees in the association. And so we're just thinking of ways for, you know, there's always that outlier, right? Like I'll go to a conference and, you know, I'll hear grad students say, oh, I can't even say that at my institute. I can't even say I'm doing critical race work at my institution. Like those are the people, like we need structures, right? Because it doesn't happen organically for everyone, right? Like some people are at different kinds of, you know, maybe smaller universities and there aren't folks doing the work there, or even larger, you know, so for whatever reason, right, they don't have that community. So, and even those of us who do, right, like we need it in different kinds of ways. And sometimes it's good to have folks outside of your institution, for example, or, you know, in different geographical areas and things like that. So I just wanted to commend Larissa for all the work you're doing. And I'm just really excited to see where it's gonna go, even virtually. Okay, so I think we are at, let me just make sure, because my agenda is sprinkled in the chat.
Just real quick, Erica,
Go
there's
ahead.
a question, or Tammy mentioned that she tried to renew her membership right now, so the link wasn't working. So I think we can maybe.
Yeah, I'm so
Okay.
sorry. We should have said that that is not, it won't be up until September 1st. Actually, what I could do is see if I could get it up early and send an email out to folks. So if I can get it up, you know, in the next couple of days, I'll let everybody know. But the intention was September 1st, but I definitely would like something to be there. Like I would like folks who are ready to be able to do it. So thank you for that. And then next we were gonna have Kathy and Oscar talk about the summer webinars that are happening right now-ish.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Kathy Gastelum. I've been a grad student rep for 2 years. My term was supposed to end at this year's conference, but we're extending that another year like we talked about earlier. So I wanted to tell y'all how this summer webinar came about. So one of our planning members, Heidi Pereira Bonilla, she sent me a message on Instagram and she's like, is there gonna be like a webinar or something? And I'm like, I know that the e-board had floated that idea around a little bit. So I brought it to the e-board and we're like, yeah, let's do it. And so Oscar and I took the lead. We contacted some of our other grad student council. It all happened within about a month. And it was just so important to Heidi to communicate that, you know, CRSEA was a space where she felt comfortable as a woman of color, as a parent scholar, and that's why it was so important for her to have this kind of space. So she can't be on right now because she's at class. So, but she'll be joining us later for our keynote speaker. But that's really how this came about. And we planned it within about a month. And yeah, thank you all for joining us. It's been a great way for CRSEA folks to connect, and also a lot of new folks too. So we hope to have more in the future. But you know, don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. You know, if you want like some advice, you know, I'm a new graduate. I graduated. I'm a COVID graduate. I graduated in May. So don't hesitate, because I know like these spaces are so crucial for us critical scholars. So yeah, don't hesitate to reach out. And you know, thank you again for joining us. Make sure to stay tuned for our keynote, who was our planned pre-conference keynote, Judith Flores Carmona, which is gonna be at 3 to 4 Pacific time. And now Oscar is gonna talk a little bit more about the webinars and also about the YouTube videos.
Hi everyone, my name's, oh, go ahead.
Before you share, I'm sorry, just real quick, Kathy, is the presentation on this link after this, or is it another link?
It's gonna be the same link.
Okay, so I just wanted to let folks know they could just stay on. Okay.
Yeah, I created that intentionally. That way you could feel like you kind of have to stay on.
I like it. I like it. Okay, Oscar, it's all you.
Hi everyone, my name is Oscar Medina. This is my 3rd year as a grad rep. I also wanted to give a shout out to Lorena and Eli. They're on the call right here. They also helped with the summer webinar. So, you know, it's just a lot of us working together. And one of the things that I was really excited about was that even though we couldn't have the conference, you know, because of COVID, you know, this is a way for us to connect and really like, you know, able to see each other and see, you know, what work is happening. And like Kathy said, we were able to get Dr. Flores to give her keynote for the next session, and also Dr. Coles was also a session that we were had planned to have for the pre-conference. So that's pretty much it. I echo what Kathy said. You know, this is an important space that we have to, you know, protect and you know, keep having to have you know, fruitful conversations like the ones that we're having. And then, yeah, that's all I have for the webinar, but I wanted to quickly mention about our YouTube channel. So we're uploading a lot of the sessions that were recorded for this summer webinar on there. So you could just go on YouTube and go on the search bar and put CRSEA leadership. And there's already some videos up. So there's an interview that Dr. Jones actually interviewed the co-founder of CRSEA, Dr. Theodora Berry. That's one of them. There's one of the roots of CRT by Dr. Berry, and then also an interview that Dr. Ann Avilas did, which is Erica's cousin, with Dr. Stovall of CRT praxis in schools. And also, I want to give a shout out to Dr. Avilas, and because that was her plan, and she was envisioning something to kind of provide members with, or you know, like people who are involved with CRSEA, you know, a way to kind of tap into different resources, and I think these videos do that. So just kind of be on the lookout. Also on Instagram, if you want to put CRSEA or CRSEA leadership, that's also another way for you to kind of see what's happening or any information with the organization.
Well, Scott, can you put the name for the YouTube channel maybe in
Yeah,
the
I'll
chat
do
to
that.
say it again?
Eli already did it. He is ready.
Oh, look at y'all. Look at y'all. Thank you. Yeah, I'm
Teamwork
just
makes the
really
dream work.
excited about those YouTube. I actually used a piece of the video. So Anne interviewed David Stovall, who's one of the founders, and I used part of it in a summer class I was teaching with high schoolers. So there's a lot of really great stuff. I mean, they're kind of long, but you know, different pieces of them are great to share. And you know, if you have the time, I would definitely check those out. And we're going to continue sharing some of that. And we are, as a e-board, still thinking about, again, these membership benefits and thinking about how we all stay connected and what it means to be part of the association outside of the conference, which is something we actually started talking about pre-COVID. And when we were planning the LA conference, I remember us talking a lot about this. So I don't even know what that is, fall of 19, right? That we were talking about that, something like that. So just thinking about it now, it kind of pushed us, right? Like it was like, okay, now it's like you don't have a choice, you don't have a conference, so you have to think about these other ways of connecting. And just wanted to open the floor. I don't know if anybody wants to share anything about a webinar or YouTube that they might have participated in, or maybe even just viewed. Anybody want to share any reflections on that?
I do. I want to give a huge shout out to Dr. Angel Jones for the session on the anti-Blackness within the Latinx community. That was just like mind-blowing. I loved it. It was amazing. And just to be totally transparent, I was going back and forth with texting Erica, like, I'm scared. I just don't want to like step on anybody's toes. Like, I don't want to come up like the wrong way. I don't want anybody to have a bad taste about CRSEA. And then we're like, it's Angel. She got it. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your session. It really resonated with me personally and academically. So thank you so much.
Thank you for that. Can I tell you, I was shocked when y'all even reached out and asked. I was like, me? You want me to do it? Like, so even that felt humbling. But I think it just speaks to like what this space is, right? So I feel like, you know, my chat with Luce was very personal, and like you said, like it can step on toes, but I feel like because it's such a safe space, I went in feeling good about what was going to come from the discussion in a way that I probably would not have felt if I was in a different space. So this was a great space in which to do that, and now I feel fired up to take it outside and come for people that are anti-Black, because it's not okay. So thank y'all for asking me and for having a space that's always been so safe and supportive.
I'd like to share something real quick. Hi everyone, my name is Lorena. I've been part of the 2020 committee, summer committee, CRSEA, summer committee, there you go. I joined CRSEA, or first was introduced to CRSEA 5 years ago, and I think it's just been very full circle to be a part of the organizing of now, you know, new voices, emerging scholars, and it's been inspiring to invite some of my colleagues who we first attended CRSEA for the first time. Our first conference, we were presenting for the very first time our work, so nervous as master's students, and I still get nervous. But just to see the growth in me and with my colleagues who are now at different institutions, you know, we were able to bring some Black women from Bogota to share about their experience, Janae's at UPenn, and just thinking about this connection that started in CRSEA, and it's just been wonderful, and I'm grateful for this organization. So thank you all.
Thank you, Lorena, for sharing and for your service. I was honestly, like, I was blown away when Kathy sent me the list, because we were thinking like, oh, webinar, like a webinar, right? And then actually Anne was here, who's been mentioned a few times, Anne Aviles. She lives in Delaware, but she was visiting me. And I was like, oh my God, girl, you're not gonna believe this. I'm like, we got like a dozen webisodes happening. So again, just huge shout out to all the labor, even though it's right now still happening, right? I wanna give a shout out to Eli. I was able to hear part of your presentation and just all the parallels, you know, and it's so interesting, even though you centered your identity as undocumented as a Boricua, like I was like, wow, like it's just crazy to think of the parallels. And there's so many things that happen in those educational spaces, all the like secret codes and policies. And so he alluded to some of that, right? Like there's moments, you know, where as outliers, you know, we're like, wait, you know, and so those of us who are now in the institution, you know, just being very vigilant about that, you know, and what are those secret codes that are disenfranchising students without us even realizing it. So thank you, Eli, for being so open and sharing so much of your story. I really appreciated that webinar a lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, since Lorena mentioned right now how she started with CRSEA, I don't know if she knows this, I don't think I've mentioned it, but I got to CRSEA last year to the conference because of Lorena, because of Carlos Guijarro, who's a cohort mate in the social and cultural analysis of education grad program at CSULB. He actually, told me about CRSEA. I'm like, what the hell is CRSEA, right? And he's like, yeah, do you want to volunteer? And I'm like, sure, I'll show up. I'm an activist, so I'm like, volunteering is not new to me. But once we got to that space, we were kind of like, okay, what is there to do? And since I didn't really know what CRSEA was or what to do, but anyways, long story short, I did go to several of the workshops last year, and I met, Dr. Sean Harper, Danny Solorzano, and others, and I was thinking about applying to PhD, so that really motivated me. I mean, this was like the point that I'm like, yeah, I wanna be part of this. I wanna, create change through research. And so yeah, I mean, fast forward, like you were saying, Erika, we were in touch. We were planning of doing a caravan. Like I brought up the issue last year that as a person without status, it would be like almost impossible for me to, fly, or, too risky to fly from Cali to Delaware. So, we were talking about a caravan of, folks that we would drive from California to Delaware. And the only reason why I kind of wanted to do that is because I was involved in a political campaign in 2016 where I drove cross country, going to Philly, going to New York and other states. I'm like, I can do this. But anyways, like we're talking, COVID, interrupted those plans. So I was really happy that I was, that Kathy reached out to me for this year if I wanted to help organize. And two, that I was allowed, to have a space to share, some of the anecdotes, right? Because I was kind of like, when I was writing, I'm like, which one should I include? There's so much that has gone down, but then I don't want to come across like I'm having like a pity party, or I'm the victim here, which I am, but that's not the mentality. That's not the lens that I want to utilize. So yeah, I'm thankful for this opportunity. Thankful that I was able to present. From another presentation that I did a couple months ago, somebody reached out to me from UCLA. So they're asking if I could, assist presenting for college transfers for undocumented students. So I'm seeing that there's a lot that still needs to be done. So I'm interested in, now that I understand this membership thing, I do want to become a member, and I wish to remain involved with CRSEA. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you, everybody, for all those comments, testimonials. Anybody else want to share anything about the summer webinars? If not, we could just open up for general Q&A. And I noticed Dr. Aleman had a really good question in the chat that made me also think about our next call, right? And so if you all have any thoughts or ideas and you want to just talk about that, this could be a space for that as well.
You want to just describe real quick how that works, how the call works?
Sure. So the way it works traditionally is that the president comes up with the theme and then the VP writes the call, which is really interesting, right? Because it kind of pushes you. So you can't just pick something that's like easy to write about, right, if you will. And so it's kind of neat. It's a very collaborative process. And then usually the e-board, depending on the group and the circumstances, will chime in on that call. We're thinking, since we are our new incoming co-VPs, like we said, we're inviting everybody to kind of be on board. So we're thinking of doing this very collectively. And we already have some ideas around COVID and race and really just thinking about this moment that we're in. But it's still kind of open, as far as the theme goes. And as you know, or you might not know, newer people might not know, right? With the Critical Race Studies Conference, we have our theme, right? But we also know that there's this bigger umbrella of critical race work, right? So that those connections might not be as tight, but that we want a space for critical race scholars in education to share their scholarship, right? And so it's kind of, that's always the theme, right? Like that's always there. And so just thinking of ways that we hone in with another kind of real specific theme to leverage the work that folks are doing and to kind of complicate the conversations, if you will. So any just general Q&A about anything we talked about today. We have about 10, 12 minutes left here together. Even though we hope you stay on and for the final talk at 5 Central Time. So there is one more thing I remembered. I was looking back at my notes, just to be clear, because I know I remember my early years in CRSEA. I actually was part of the very first conference back in the early 2000s at UIC when it was just a one-day thing, and we were literally making sandwiches, y'all, in the room, like, like we had no budget, like zero budget. And so it's so beautiful to see how it's grown. And it's just so hard to express, right? Like the gratitude, you know, of being this like really new professor and like having this community of like these really dope like people who've been in the field, and you know, it's like that was like what kept me going, you know. But what I was going to say is the nominations, right? So usually every year we have this call for nominations for VP that happened every year, right? That we would always have this transition. And this might be a good opportunity to talk a little bit about that structure quickly, right? So the e-board has a president and it has a vice president, and then it has a documentarian / secretary. We're working on that title. We have a treasurer, and then we have 2 grad student representatives. And then usually everybody on the e-board also chairs a committee. And this year we have Angel and Larissa, who've been kind of like our side, like our wings with membership and mentorship, in helping us bridge that, right? And so even though we don't have nominations this year, or we won't, right, because we already have the whole board, and we're doing that election for the grad student, there are so many ways to be involved, right? So if we don't have that call for nominations, thinking of ways that you can still be part of the association's leadership and working on committees. We have a program committee, we have a conference committee, we have a tech committee, we have the grad student council, we have a membership committee and mentorship committee, right? It's still a committee. It's kind of like with membership, but mentorship initiative. So, and then like with the summer folks, right? So we have like ad hoc, you know, like if there's things that come up and we need to create space, we do that too. And we want you to do that, right? So if there's something that you're like, oh, we should have I have so many ideas, you know, I'm like, we need a committee that thinks about K-12, and we need a committee that, you know, so there's so many different directions. A caravan committee for the work Eli and I had started. We were literally mapping the trip, y'all. So yeah, I was in denial. Like in March, I think we had a conversation. I was like, it's gonna be fine. Like, gonna be fine. It wasn't fine. So anyway, that's a little bit just to think about, right? The where you see yourself in the leadership, if you see yourself in the leadership moving forward. You know, I think all of us started like in these different ways in the association, and then, you know, ended up on the e-board. So any other questions, or if anybody else wants to tell their kind of story about how they came to the association, I always think that's interesting. Or any ideas. I'm always happy to entertain how we can move the work forward.
I'd like to share. And I think this is another really big benefit of the organization. I feel like it's allowed me to connect with senior scholars in a way that I just wouldn't have been able to do outside of this safe space. I remember last year at the business conference, I've volunteered by doing check-in. So I was just going around to everyone and having them sign in. And I don't know about y'all, like when I was a student, like I would read work, but like never know what people looked like in real life, because we're just like looking at their articles. And Dr. Stovall signed in, and I didn't know who he was in terms of visually. When I walked away, I'm like, you're like, I was like starstruck, and I was like, Dr. Stovall. He was like, no, I'm Dave, like, nice to meet you. And he was just like so genuine and so down to earth. And I feel like that's how everyone is in this space. I feel like we just love up on each other. And I feel like, you know, I don't know if y'all go to other conferences, like ARA is so stuffy. Like, I feel like I'm there and I have to perform and I have to be a certain type of way. But when it comes to this, like, I literally get to just be myself in a way that I don't have to worry about. So that's definitely a benefit of membership.
So I see on the call that,
Dale.
I was gonna say, I see on the call there's like 3 different CRSEA shirts. So like, I just kind of wanted to show this. So oh, 4 of them.
I love that one, Oscar. I have the indigenous the New Mexico. So they made their own that year. There was another one that had like the land. This was
The gray one.
2018. Yours is 2017, right, Oscar?
Yeah, I think this was in
Indiana?
Colorado.
Oh, Colorado?
Indiana. Hmm. So that's actually another thing that I guess it would be good to talk. A lot of people have like been asking about like this shirt. So I'm wondering if like maybe that would be like another way that like the organization can kind of get funding or make money, you know, to you're not
I
on mute.
looked into that, Oscar, to see where we have those prints. I mean, I know the artist that did last year's, I still work with her, and she's the one that we might work with again for this if we do a t-shirt for 2020. But for the previous years, I could look to see, you know, how we can do that. I think if we just contact the folks who were in leadership that year, I think it should be a pretty easy thing. And then we'll have to think about distribution, because we have thought about it in years past, like especially at the conference when there's not enough for everybody. This past year, we tried to get enough for everybody. We got 300. We used to only get enough for grad students and I think presenters. So I think part of the issue was just the labor of like literally mailing them to folks. And so if we could figure that out, I would be totally down to do something like that. I have some missing years, so I'm like, I want my t-shirts. So I get
And retros and
yeah.
Sorry, I have a quick question. My name is Edwin Joseph. I'm dialing into this call from Dublin. I wanted to find out, do you have members outside of North America? Do you have like members from Europe?
Yes, we do. We have a lot of support from the UK under Dr. David Gilbourne. He's actually one of our sponsors. He usually sponsors the Derek Bell Legacy Awards. And then we've also had, I know last year there was a group from Australia that I got to meet. I don't remember the specific area in Australia though. I'm just trying to think anywhere outside the US, to be honest with you. I don't know if other folks have met anybody at conferences outside of the US. And thank you for joining us from Dublin. That's amazing.
yeah, we had some presenters from Sweden last year. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to see, like, you know, if you were just US based or well, not American based, or you know, like, yeah.
No, we welcome our global members and want more, I would say, right? Like to have more of these perspectives around race and other geographic locations. Maybe that's another committee.
Actually, I was going to say, yeah. I was actually going to jump in and say that I think that was another discussion that was happening in prior years when Ben and I were co-chairing the membership committee. Was one of the ideas was having like chapters, CRSEA chapters that were regional as well as national and international, so we could have. And I think there were some folks that I talked to over in the UK at one of the prior CRSEA conferences that said that they would be down to start up a CRSEA, you know, like regional collective over, you know, at least in the, you know, in that area. So so yeah, that's one of the conversations. Obviously a lot of it is, you know, like just getting things up and running. I think that we have a lot on our plate already with the membership committee, but that's one of the initiatives that we've talked about in the past that would be a really interesting thing to have happen at some point in time.
So even jumping off of that question, Ivan, how did you find out about like the business meeting and stuff and the webinar?
I've been actually trying to remember, God, like my emails and my online has just been popping. I don't know, everything pops into my timeline. So honestly, I've been thinking like, God, where did I see it? But it was somewhere online. So I saw something. I was like, okay. So a lot of the people I just published a book on critical race theory in Ireland, you know, and racial stratification. And then I saw, so a lot of the people I would have cited, you know, were on your side. I think either on Twitter or an email I got or something. Yeah. You know, I'm like, oh, this sounds interesting. You know, like a group of people I would like to see what you're doing and be part of, you know, the work. And particularly for us here in Ireland, so there's not much, you know, around critical race theory, you know, so a lot of people struggle with it. So yeah, so I think I should be one or two who really focus on critical race theory here in Ireland. So yeah.
Yeah, if you can actually give us, share your book. That way we can like, you know, promote it on our social media.
Okay. Perfect. I can.
Our Facebook page, I don't know if you saw it on our Facebook page, but that's probably, that membership is a little bit more robust, and we can definitely share your book. And
Okay.
I was just going to
Okay, that's
piggyback
great.
on the work that
I just followed you guys on Instagram and Twitter because I saw those two. So yeah, so I just followed you on Twitter because it was there in the chat. So I'm like, okay, at least that means I'll be getting all the notifications. So yeah.
I just posted a link to her book because as she was
Oh,
talking, I was
thank
like, ooh, I want to read that. So I posted a link to her book in the chat.
Yeah,
This is a family. This is what we do. You already belong to us. I hope you're ready.
perfect.
So even like that, to me, that I was asking the question about what do people want to hear? Because maybe, the work that Eli and Kathy and Oscar and Lorena have done with this webinar series, it sucks that we can't see each other like face to face, but that's an example of like getting the work out to maybe a broader range of people in the UK and in Australia and across the country. And so maybe we can just keep building on, even having a conversation with you, if somebody wanted to have just a conversation about doing your work in Ireland, what that's like, what you found, how you use CRT work, that would be interesting for even just a 45-minute conversation about the way you went about doing that. As a series, part of the series. And so I would encourage, people on this call to give us ideas, because even if the e-board took turns and said, I'm going to do a conversation about that book, and then we spread the work out a little bit more. Because I do agree with Kinzo, we are stretched thin, but if we kind of distributed it that way and just took turns with those kinds of conversations, it might be one way to build on the successes of this summer.
Thank you for that. And Iban, you have a couple messages in the chat box.
Oh, do I? Sorry.
No, you're good. One of them is from me, and this is just, I thought I'd say it out loud for other people who don't know. We have like a small, I don't know to call it a pop-up, but we have like a bookstore that we set up at the conference. And we try to get books from people in the association, scholars in the association, who have recent books out. And so when we do hopefully have a conference, we could definitely add your book to that library, if you will. And then just to echo, I love the idea of, doing something to, share your work, because I think it's important for people to understand the reach, right, that critical race work has across the globe. Such an important conversation.
Yeah, one of the questions I always ask is, how can critical race theory travel? And so that's what I look at in my work. Can it travel, and from the US, to Europe? Can it travel to a place like Ireland? And so there's still a lot of pushback, particularly in Europe, but there's so much openness now, and a lot of young scholars, they say they are using critical race theory without even fully understanding, and how to use critical race theory. What is the difference in how is a critical race theory question different from just a normal narrative? Is it different? Is it the same thing as just interviewing people? So in that mind frame, of thinking, all of that. So yeah, it's a new conversation in Europe, but yeah.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you. I just want to do a time check. I'm hoping everybody can stay on again for the talk that's happening in just about 30 minutes here, but I also want to recognize that we're at the hour. So if you do need to leave us at this moment, just wanted to do that, but also keep the floor open. I'm going to stay on, but if people need to either take a break or get off, I just wanted to let folks know on the time, okay? But floor is still open.
If we log back out, can we just use the link to log back in for the next meeting? Yeah?
Yeah, the same link.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
I have to log out too, but I just wanted to reiterate as the ongoing or the continuing vice president for this next conference that we are really wanting to do in May. I encourage anybody that wants to be part of that, putting that conference and the program together. There'll be a call out for reviewers. There'll be a call out for anybody that wants to be part of that committee. So I just encourage you, if that's part of what you want to do, to reach out when the time comes. And it's great to see everybody. Please, everybody, be careful and have a good start to the fall, whatever that fall might look like.
Thank you, Enrique.
Likewise.
Bye.
Thanks all. I'll come back in half an hour.
I also
So
have
we
to.
send out, all right, bye. When we send out the membership link for folks who want to sign up, we'll also have instructions for people who are interested in committee work as well. I did put something in the chat, but I'll make sure it's clear.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask real quick, since Kenzo's still here, that special pricing you guys are having, is that something that y'all are going to openly share on your platforms on social media?
Yes, definitely. So we decided to roll it out for this business meeting. We were actually we were in discussions about it as of like last week and this week. So this is something that we're still kind of getting it all rolled out, but we definitely will share it. We officially shared it on the business meeting, and then we're going to get it on social media and stuff like that. So that way
Okay,
we have
so
the prorated.
is there going to be like a graphic tied to that, or just?
I will definitely work on that.
Okay. I was just wondering because, again, activism online.
Oh,
so
absolutely,
I will definitely be looking to, amplify it on my platforms. I'm seeing that I'm a little late to the Instagram game, but I know it's the most popular app right now. And I'm seeing that there's a lot of action. I've gotten like a lot of folks actually like following back. So definitely want to post it there.
Yvonne, I just
you.
wanted to say my first piece, my first publication was about critical race theory in Ireland. Hey, and I was invited to be a chapter of a book by my mentor. So this is all full circle. I had no idea what I was doing.
In Ireland?
Yeah, it was
Really?
just a piece. It was just a small piece about using critical race theory as a framework about the immigration in Ireland and how schools were basically prioritizing religion as a way of keeping Nigerian immigrants out of their schools. So there were, it was a contingency of Nigerian women. And I just found it out in the newspaper, a Nigerian women that were converting to Catholicism to get their children in school.
Oh, yeah. It was a whole big thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just was like,
yeah.
And for people to change gods for education was just mind blowing to me. Right?
Well, it was only temporary. They did it, got into the space, and then went to their churches on Sunday.
Absolutely right. So, but that just talks about the power of mentorship, right? Because honestly, I had no idea what I was doing. I was, I'm just beginning in the doc program, and a mentor encouraged me that I was able to do it. And I'm sure I would be mortified looking back at my first work at this point, but yeah. Thank God for growth, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's brilliant. Good.
Actually, I was going to ask, do you know Carl Kaching over in Ireland too? Or I think he moved over to Birmingham, but I don't know if you know him.
Carl Kaching, yeah.
Yeah, Carl.
Carl uses critical race theory again. That's why I say, that there are just one or two of us. So I think he's
Okay, yeah, no. I just wonder if because I know it's a small world out there. Both of us were actually grad students way back in the day.
It's very, very small. It's very small.
Exactly. I figured it's a small world out there because I think it was over at Corker University. Okay.
Yeah, I know Carl. He knows me very well.
Oh, he does? Okay, cool. I figured he's good folks. We knew each other as grad students way back in the day when I was over at Cambridge University, and I was going down to London all the time. He was down in London with David Gilbourne and Deborah Udall and stuff like that. So, so good folks.
And he's moved over now. I'm like,
he moved over to Birmingham with David Gilbourne and and Colwan. Colwan Bopan.
The E-road for us.
Yeah, that's like the crew over there. So that's this new UK crew over there. So okay, nice. Yeah. No, we presented together. We've done some stuff. So I'm glad that you know him. Yeah, so they're good folks. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Great. You see, that's what I miss here. We don't have a strong, that's why I'm like, okay, I'll just reach out to them. We don't have a strong community of CRT people, And so it's really like, surface stuff. And then you're constantly having to teach, people. I mean, like, okay, I just want to have a normal CRT conversation, without having, So that's nice. Yeah.
No, that's cool.
Brilliant. Lovely to meet you all. And so I'll log back in again. Yeah. Thank you.
Great to meet you.
All right, so I'm just gonna leave this on, and then I'm gonna put like a background of Dr. Flores Carmona. So if y'all need to bathroom break, get something to eat, drink, feel free, but we're gonna start at about like 2:55 my time, Pacific time. So 55, just remember that number.
So Kathy, we can just like turn off our video and mute and
Yeah, I
just
was
leave
gonna
it
say,
on.
can we just, okay, perfect.
Okay.
I may try to deal with the kids right now, so I'll be back.
I think that was her nice way of saying, everybody get out so I can get ready
Yeah,
for
exactly.
the
So
next
you heard
meeting.
thing. She's like, by the way, y'all, I'm glad to have you all here, but
I got work to do.
Yeah, something like that.
We gotta clean up the area, you know, the room for the next presenter.